23rd of February 2022. Greetings from Rwanda's capital, Kigali. Here is what makes our top stories tonight. President Paul Kagame is currently in the Islamic Republic of Mauritania for a two-day working visit. The problem of imposters that deceive the public and promise them to connect them with decision makers in their court cases is one of the most common causes of corruption in courts. A very good evening to and welcome to Rwanda Television News. My name is Sam Kalisa. As we begin for tonight's edition, let us inform you that President Paul Kagame is currently in the Islamic Republic of Mauritania for a two-day working visit. At Nouakchott Oumtounsy International Airport, the Rwandan head of state was received by his counterpart, His Excellency Mohamed Ould Ghazouani. The two leaders held a tete-a-tete ahead of a bilateral meeting with members of both delegations. Afterwards, cooperation agreements were signed between both countries, focusing on a number of sectors that include security and the military, ICT, mining, agriculture, investment, and more. Moving ahead, President Paul Kagame has noted that Global Fund is an important partner for Rwanda and Africa as a whole. The Rwandan head of state made the remarks during the plenary, the preparatory meeting of the Global Fund's 7th replenishment. The meeting was attended by other leaders, including the presidents of South Africa, Senegal, Kenya, and others. Also present was Donald Kaberuka, the chair of the board of the Global Fund. His Excellency President Paul Kagame also spoke on the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the health sector in Rwanda and elsewhere in the world. And also, as we move ahead, on Wednesday morning, President Paul Kagame and President Macky Sall, who is the current chair of the African Union, held a tete-a-tete meeting where they discussed various issues of continental and bilateral importance. President Paul Kagame had been in Senegal for the inauguration of the country's state-of-the-art sports complex and stadium.
President Kagame is in Dakar, Senegal, where he attended the launch of the Abdoulaye Wade Stadium. The stadium, which is named after the former president of Senegal, will be a 50,000-seater stadium for football. As we know, football is an important game on the continent, and most importantly, the development of infrastructure on the continent will allow for an even greater burst of talent, burst of economical opportunity, and burst of financial gain for the continent, but as well for countries in which these infrastructures are set up. The development of the Abdoulaye Wade Stadium here in Senegal, or the 45,000-seater stadium that is being built in Rwanda, is significant beyond infrastructure. It is about investing in the sports industry, which is an industry that holds immense opportunity for our continent. Africa is used to being an exporter of talent, but with the development of infrastructure, with development into our young people and developing their talent, we can build an industry where our young people don't have to leave the continent to live off their talent and are able to earn a living on the continent and also be part of an ecosystem that contributes greatly to the economic development of our countries. President Kagame also held a tete-a-tete meeting with President Macky Sall, his host here in Senegal, where they discussed various issues. With President Macky Sall recently becoming the chair of the African Union, there are various issues of continental importance when it comes to regional trade, when it comes to regional security, that are of importance for both presidents to discuss.
And as we move ahead to other matters, the plenary assembly of the Senate decided to call on the government to address the challenges faced by Rwandans living abroad in terms of accessing services through the Irembo website. The decision was taken after Rwandans living abroad brought this issue up, according to a report by the Senate Standing Committee on Foreign Affairs, Cooperation and Security. The report was read out by Senator John Bideri, the chairman of the committee. This was after the committee members concluded a visit to Rwandans living abroad globally and met with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Rwanda to discuss the issues that they face and find a solution. One of the issues is that they are not able to open an account directly through the Irembo website, as it requires them to pass through someone residing in Rwanda for them to do so. As we had discussions with the minister, we talked about the issue of services provided on the Irembo website, which is a problem that Rwandans living abroad have continuously expressed and globally. They pointed out that the Irembo services and other services require a person to have a Rwandan ID for him or her to access them, which I also explained very well. And secondly, these services require one to have a local Rwandan number and not a foreign one. While pointing out this issue, the administration of Irembo website said they were already aware of these issues, although they didn't specify which ones, and promised us to look into this issue and solve it. Among the highlights made by the members of the Senate is that they shall now be able to apply for a national ID through the website and will be available at embassies around the world. Rwandans living abroad also pointed out that bank services are often not as fast as they would like them to be and demand faster and better service delivery. In exchange of views on the report, the senators praised the role of Rwandans living abroad in supporting the country, the way in which the government cares for them through various services provided to them, including the insurance, passports through Rwandan embassies in other countries. And to other matters, authorities in charge of emergency management and citizen welfare say they are ready to deal with disaster effects that might result from heavy rains that are expected in this rainy season. Citizens are being urged to take the lead in protecting their lives. We do have the report. The ministry in charge of emergency management, MINEMA, noted that heavy rains that were experienced since the beginning of this year until 20th of this month killed at least 48 people and more than 90 were injured. Gakenye district is one of the worst affected districts in the country, and residents say the issue has been recurring, stressing the need for a lasting solution. Those who got affected were given materials to help them, like iron sheets. But the issue is that disasters have become recurring over and over in this area.
When it rains at night, they call us and tell us to get away due to landslides maybe. We are worried because no one would love to die. The bad thing is that it always rains during nighttime.
This has happened for the second time. These houses have been destroyed twice now. We are requesting the government to help us relocate to safer areas. Relocating citizens from high-risk zones is a program that the government of Rwanda has taken as a long-term solution to preventing anyone from being killed or harmed by heavy rains. However, Philippe Habinshuti, the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Emergency Management, noted that different ways through which citizens can be resettled to safer areas without necessarily being relocated have been initiated to more than 12,000 families now. It's not always that people living in high-risk zones need to be relocated. Sometimes an area can be well reconstructed and citizens can safely stay in that area. We started doing that last year because we've seen that sometimes disasters happen because houses don't have maybe stronger foundations or even due to lack of waterways. So when that is done properly, citizens can easily stay in that area and relocation can only be done where there is no any other option. Meanwhile, the Rwanda Meteorology Agency recently announced that heavy rain is expected in the west and northern provinces and in some parts of the southern province, especially those that border Nyungwe Forest, in the month of March, April and may even result to disasters. Emergency Management Ministry says it is vigilant and is closely monitoring the situation so that some families can be relocated or be temporarily accommodated by their neighbors, sheltered in schools, churches, or even be assisted to rent houses in safer areas. After measuring the amount of water underground, we sometimes see that if it rains for 3 days or more, it might cause a disaster. We've seen that in the areas of Gakenye, Rulindo, Ngororero, Rutsiro, Karongi, and other areas where disasters are common. The Ministry of Local Government has started to register families that need to be relocated as soon as possible. The Minister of State in charge of Social Affairs at the Ministry of Local Government, Honorable Ingabire Assumpta, emphasized that the process of relocating families living in high-risk zones and wetlands is ongoing.
In our planning and budgeting, we always have a number of families that will be relocated. We still have at least 2 to 3 years to finish relocating all those that need to be relocated. Relocating them permanently can be difficult for now, but we can at least plan and relocate them temporarily to save their lives. The other important thing is renovating trenches and waterways to reduce on the risks.
According to the Ministry of Local Government, about 15,195 families have so far been relocated from high-risk zones and wetlands, as the target is to relocate more than 90 families by 2024. The problem of imposters that deceive the public and promise to connect them with decision makers in their court cases is one of the most common causes of corruption in the courts. This comes as this week is dedicated to fighting corruption in the courts. That is from the 21st to the 25th of February 2022. Innocent Mugabo has the report.
Mukamana Donatil, a 65-year-old resident of Gisagara district, stresses that she always makes back and forth journeys to the court in which she sued his assailant, who was later sentenced. Mukamana filed a compensation lawsuit in July last year.
I went there in July and they asked me to come back on 25th October. Now they have told me to come back in April. I request that they give me my compensation and stop tossing me around.
The other person is Nyiranjirimana Beata from Huye district, whom we met coming from the court to check on the status of her case, who also complains that as local leaders searched her house for substandard alcohol, she lost her 400,000 Rwandan francs bank loan money in the process and filed a case last year.
RIB came and carried out investigations, not forgetting the testimonies. But what I don't understand is how my case was dropped when it reached the court.
These continue making back and forth journeys to the courts to follow up on their cases, despite of the fact that there is a technological system that can be used. This technology should also help reduce the number of encounters between the public and the judiciary as one of the strategies to help prevent and combat corruption in the courts. But also in rural areas, the use of this technology is still a problem. They are not supposed to come to the courts. All this should be followed up using this system. Some people like coming to the courts due to mindset, and that is where the blockers come in, due to seeing this person regularly at the court. The presiding judge of the Nyanza court explains that blockers deceiving the public, promising to link them to decision makers in their cases, is one of the things creating gap for corruption. To date, that is the big problem we have. There are two kinds of blockers. There are outsiders and former employees of the courts. Some indeed reach decision makers, but there are also those that don't and end up taking the money. According to the Supreme Court, from 2017 to February this year, 12 judges and court clerks across the country were permanently dismissed for corruption and other corruption-related offences. Innocent Mugabo, RTV News.
And on behalf of the entire news production team that made it happen, thank you very much for being with us. My name is Sam Kalisa. Have a good evening.